Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey with Clarita, the podcast where we will discuss valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Subscribe now to Begin, Build, Blossom, and let's embark on your business journey. Welcome to this episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. And I am your host, Clarita. Today we have with us Janice Leonard. Welcome, Janice.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you so our guests know who you are, and then we will get into it. So Janice Leonard is the founder and licensed professional counselor with Cognitive Shifts Psychotherapy private practice. She's also the creative director and host of her Sexual Space podcast. Janice began her career in business and marketing management at Grambling State University and then answered her calling studying counseling psychology at Colorado Christian University. Janice is now on the path to becoming an American Association of Sexuality Educators certified sex therapist through Sexual Health Alliance. Through her work with women, partners, and couples, she has identified a great need for psychoeducation and healing work on the basis of mental and sexual health. She helps her clients with learning what pleasure means to them, understanding how their minds and bodies work together, and deconstructing messages that conflict with the way they attend to their bodies, particularly in Black and Brown communities. In addition to managing her private practice and caseload, her podcast, Her Sexual Space, is carefully designed to create a space to facilitate dialogue on women's sexual health. Her sexuality inclusive and sex positive approach is highlighted episode after episode. Janice Leonard has strategically combined her passion for mental health, sexual health, women, connection, and community. Thank you so much, Janice. Very, very impressive.
Thank you. That was beautifully read.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to know you. Janice and I are friends. We've known each other for a while.
Yes. It's such an honor to see you in this space. I was just reflecting this morning and coming to college. I think, of course, you were one of the persons that I truly admired. Like, you were involved in everything and super engaged. And I think everyone's level of comfort was almost a priority for you by creating the Calypso organization. So I know you'll do great at this, and I'm excited to see where you go.
Thank you so much. And one of the things about attending school with persons like yourself and being able to work with organizations like Calypso is just the amazing network of friends we have. Everybody in our group, and they've been so amazing. Everybody supported each other, and I'm glad that we continue to do that even after school. So thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to start off with a segment we call Rapid Fire. I will be asking you a few questions and we'll try to keep it short, and we'll move on to the rest of the episode. So first off, what is the name of your business?
Cognitive Shift Psychotherapy, and I'm also Her Sexual Space. So that's my DBA for my podcast.
Great. And how long have you been in business?
In business for about 4 years, in practice for about 7. I worked in a practice prior to my own.
Oh, nice. Amazing. Mm-hmm. And are you currently full-time in your practice?
Yes, I am. I am full-time, and that looks like how I want it to look, working maybe 4 days a week, sometimes 5, depending on, how I'm feeling that week.
Oh, I love it. Amazing.
Yeah.
And what were you doing before you started your practice?
Prior to counseling practice, I worked at an insurance company. I worked in the admin department for about 5 years, and that was an amazing journey, and it truly supported my goals. I was able to work 20 hours a week, to still go to school, and I'm really thankful that they accommodated me.
Awesome. And is there one book you would recommend that we read?
Secret Thoughts of Successful Women and the Psychology of Money.
Great. Okay, I will definitely make note of that. And I'm looking for two words: one that describes you now, and one that describes you as a child when you were a child.
Now I would say driven, driven, and as a child, a dreamer.
Mm. Yeah, I'm thinking on that a little bit. I love
Yeah.
And I could see how they connected because you a dreamer as a child, and now that you're an
hmm
adult, you're driven, so you can make those dreams a reality.
Yes, I envision everything in my head. I think sometimes I live in my head a little bit too much,
Mm-hmm.
but it keeps me in this excited and positive space. I use my head space to look forward to great things,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe that everything aligns for me. So,
That's great.
yeah.
I love it. So, as you know, the podcast is called Begin, Build, Blossom. So let's focus a little bit on the begin part for now. And can you tell us the first time you thought about starting your own business?
I have always been a business student. In high school, of course, I went to Leon Hess and I got to tap into that space and my, principles of business. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone did that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my homeroom class, we had airplanes on the wall in the back. And for me, it was always accounting at one point, and then it was a businesswoman. I didn't know what that would look like at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it has always been something that I have played with, and I carried that into A level. I did business at A level as well. I don't think that I actually planned through what that could look like, what niche or what space that would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that there was something about business that just aligned with who I was and who I am and the way I view life and work and all of that. And yeah, I think it was always there. And of course, going to college, I did a lot of business projects. I created products and stuff. And yeah, I just always lived in that space. And I also started an MBA. I started an MBA before my counseling degree. And of course, I quit that because I was like, I did business. I've done business. I understand the principles of business. It was time to maybe find a niche.
Nice.
So I was really grateful for that redirection and being able to quit early.
Right? Huh. So, you mentioned a lot about school and studying business and all of that. I mean, I could add here, we're both from the same country, beautiful St. Lucia.
Yes.
So, I very much understand what you're talking about when you say principles of business and all of that. And I'm just wondering, what about your upbringing in St. Lucia actually led to this part of your journey now?
I would start with my grandparents. They were business owners. My grandma was a seamstress. My grandpa was a tailor. My grandma made these corsages for like first communions and events and stuff like that. So I've always seen that in them. And at the time, I didn't know what that was doing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as I have grown, the idea of owning something and being able to manage it on a daily basis, that has truly appealed to me. So yeah, I think that has carried me through. And of course, I've worked in different spaces. I've worked in shipping. I've worked in printing. A few early on jobs when I was younger and at A level. So I think just being involved in just the business. I did some work in accounting as well. And I've seen so many different parts of business. So I
Right.
think that has truly shaped, the way I see work and how I go about my business.
Great. And how did you actually start the business? Like, what were the actions that you took? Because sometimes we think about we want to start a business, but what it is that you actually did to get that done?
So I live in, like I said, I'm a dreamer and I live in my Google Docs. So something comes to mind and I love processes. So the step by step, the mission, the vision, what I need to get there, the steps to, just starting a business, registering, all of that good stuff, making sure my licenses were good. That was it for me. But I think the most significant thing was what name, right?
Right.
What was the name? So that's where I felt stuck a lot. Like I had all of these plans and I had no name for the business. One time I was, one of my podcast interviews. We were just talking and then I think the words cognitive shifts came up
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that's it. And I just ran with it. I went to create my website, my emails and all of that good stuff. And Of course, you have to look to see no one else, if anyone else has the name, right? And then I just ran with it. But truly, it was a step by step, and maybe ignoring the fact too that I didn't need the name
Mm-hmm.
to create the outline for the business. So I think honoring that process and being patient with it, I think that was important.
I'm really happy that you said that because even for me,
Hmm.
something like the name, I got stuck on that for a very long time. Before I officially started this particular business of mine, I had done stuff in the past and I always would wonder, as a freelancer, I always thought I would love to, like, I need to come up with a name. And that
Yeah.
was so difficult. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to come up with
Yeah.
the right name.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is a hard part.
Right.
Because you have to think about logos, branding, what all of that is going to look like. How would these letters and words fit into an email? Like, there's so much to the process. So it makes sense that you would get stuck on it. But I know if I got stuck there, I wouldn't have any movement. I wouldn't keep my momentum. So I had to pause that for a bit and just let it come to me. Early on, I was looking at the business generators, name generators, and nothing stuck.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to pay, right, for something that someone came up with for
Right.
me. So yeah, patience.
Yeah, patience and not allowing that to stop you from moving forward, right?
Hmm.
And when
Yeah.
it happens, it clicks. So
Yeah, it clicks.
great. All right. So actually, I was going to ask you about the story behind your name. So I'm really glad that you told us. And what made you take the bold step of actually venturing out on your own?
Well, in the field of, counseling and psychology, I mean, there are so many stories about, just abuse in the field. Of course, lots of companies and agencies prey on us because, first of all, we need those 3,000 hours to get our license. So a lot of us have to endure,
Mm-hmm.
to get that 3,000 hours. And I got to a place where, of course, I was comfortable in the practice that I was in. And, there was a non compete, but it didn't apply to me so much because I was doing sex therapy and not seeing, the typical clients that would come into that practice. So I had started part time. So I was seeing like 6 clients a week. I think I had really small goals when I started. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what, I'll create this, see a couple clients a week in the evenings because that's like prime time for counseling. And I work my typical practice job. But they got acquired and then the non-compete changed. It would mean that my practice would be in direct conflict with their practice.
Oh.
So I had to terminate my contract, and I think it was such a blessing that I had already established a business
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to just provide more hours, and the clients are there. And that's another thing too. In my space, there is a demand as long as you have the time to see clients and you're able to balance things, because you could be overwhelmed and be counseling and be balanced and be counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I was able to do that, I was able to rack up my caseload, and it has taken off from there.
Wow, I love
Yeah.
that. Wow.
I don't want to ignore the fact that there was a little bit of fear about how I was going to manage it, but there's always a way.
Right. But it's interesting. You started off small and then the opportunity came up and you kind of went in full throttle after that.
Hmm.
And I know you mentioned non-compete and license. As licensed
Hmm.
professionals, those of us who get experience working through another practice, can you touch a little bit more on that? The kind of things that you probably need, like before you actually start your business as a licensed professional, there are some steps you probably need to take.
Yeah, so for counseling, it varies by state. So I can speak to the state of Texas and Colorado. Of course, you need those 3,000 hours in Texas to be a licensed professional counselor, and that might look different for licensed marriage and family therapists and also social workers. We all do the same work, but we report to different boards.
Mm-hmm.
For Colorado, it was 2,000 hours. So once I got licensed here, it was pretty easy to get into Colorado. Once I got that done, of course, you get your your paper license, and that authorizes you to be able to work and get your liability insurance and all that good stuff. So that was like the major steps to that. I hope I'm not missing anything. Once you have that, you can work for any practice you want as long as it aligns with what you want to
Right.
do. So once I got that, I worked with the psychiatry practice I worked with, and also I worked with a hospital mobile assessments where I would go in and do assessments for persons in the ER who had unsuccessful suicide attempts. So these were ways I was able to get my 3,000 hours. Yeah, so that was it. But of course, getting your master's degree, completing those hours. Of course, there's practicum hours first, which is while you are in courses, and then once you graduate, completing the 3,000. So it can take up to 5 years for most people.
Right.
I was able to accomplish that within maybe about 2-3 years. About that.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. The minimum you could do it was, I think, within 18 months, and I was like 20 months in. I was able to do additional work, and of course, with doing the podcast and outreach, I was able to rack those up. So
nice. Great.
yeah, but everyone's journey looks different.
Yes, I'm sure. But it helps to hear how your journey went, and maybe that could help somebody else. So I'm really glad you're sharing all that with us.
Yeah,
And I know you
yeah.
mentioned before you went into full-time practice, you had at least 6 clients before that. So how did you get that very first client?
Well, for therapists, we have lots of profiles. You can create a profile on psychology today, therapy den, inclusive therapist. Of course, you have to describe your work and how you connect with clients. Of course, your niche, areas of specialty. I was able to do that. I did that before I even launched. I was able to get everything up. And by the time I launched, I already had clients, which was amazing and pretty smart, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just put myself out there and people connected with me. And I get that a lot. People connect with the way I speak and the way I work. And of course, the fact that I have those intersecting identities, Caribbean and, an American experience, Black and all the things. So it almost feels like I'm a unicorn sometimes when people come across me. So there has not been any shortage of clients. I was able to get clients right away. And some of these clients I still have today. I see them less frequently, but we've maintained these sessions over a span of 3 going on 4 years. So it's been amazing. And of course, being in the field of sex, there is just so much that you don't realize until you get into this space how little people know about relationships and sex.
Yes. I mean, it's something we all engage in, yet it's such a taboo. I was really happy when I saw you had entered this. I hadn't even thought about it before, but I'm like, oh, this is really good. And I thoroughly enjoy your podcast.
Thank you.
There was this one you had with Fiona, and I think that's been my best so far. What was that? What is that called when you go in to get a whole spa treatment for, you know?
Yeah, vajacial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do mine. I that was a fun episode, and that was like my latest recording. I think we recorded like 10 or 11 p.m. at night, and I was like, "Oh my god, what are we doing?"
I
And then
thought it
it
was
just became
so fun. And I've heard other friends actually talk about it. So I've been hearing more about it lately. So I thoroughly
yeah.
enjoyed that episode. Everybody should go listen.
I hope you get it done.
I'm thinking about it. I probably will. I will definitely update you.
Okay, I look forward to that.
And so we are going to move on now to the building section.
All right.
And since you started, what is the biggest leap that you've had to take since starting your business?
I think that would be accepting insurance. Coming into this space, I did not want to have to deal with insurance. Insurance can get complicated. It can get nasty. As much as it opens the doors for so many clients, they make a lot of errors. They can decide, hey, I'm going to pay you for these clients. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm going to take that money back, right? So there's just so much risk involved in taking insurances.
So you mean when you say insurance, you mean, for instance, somebody bring the insurance card and instead of paying you directly, you're going to bill the insurance.
Yeah, so I'm going to bill the insurance. And of course, if they have a copay, they pay the copay. So that has been the biggest leap. Of course, I wanted to open my practice up to everybody, right? Not everyone is going to be able to pay out of pocket for therapy. And of course, if you have if if your employer is giving you insurance, why not just use that? Or even some clients use their EAP, which is their employee assistance program. Oftentimes they're allowed 6-10 sessions that are employer paid. So, I wanted to do that. It was a big leap because I know it's going to be a risk, and I was going to just have to be prepared for however that was going to go.
Okay. And how has it been working out for you?
It's been good. I've had a couple clawbacks. They paid you, and then it's like, oh, that was a mistake. We didn't calculate that right. So it happens, but ultimately you just have to prepare for that. That's just a risk you take with accepting insurance. But I do have some private clients that I maintain, and then I have some insurance. And of course, I don't do all insurances. So I work with companies like United Health, Cigna right now, and of course the EAPs.
Okay. And in terms of, because it sounds like there's building going on, like you're growing your practice. So have you had to build a team, or has your network helped with that? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so in terms of a team, of course, and that's another leap as well, being able to delegate. I have been so protective of my business, the way I handle it, the way I do it. And over the last years, of course, I had to get accounting. So I had a bookkeeper, and then I had a CPA add-on just to provide some advisory and to help me with, just looking beyond the business and projections. That was really healthy to have that. And of course, over last year, I was able to hire an assistant, which has been amazing. And I know therapists who do everything, but I think having someone that I can delegate, emails and scheduling to has been such a game changer. And it just frees up so much time to focus on my clients and not just be so exhausted by the mundane. So that has been nice.
Nice.
Of course, with the podcast, I had a producer, and I like to hire local. So I always go back home when I'm looking for people to work in my business. And I just trust the way we handle business and the way we do things. So,
and local meaning fellow St. Lucians, right?
Yeah, I always go back to, always go home.
So is your assistant also based in St. Lucia?
She is based in St. Lucia, and my producer as well.
Nice. It's good that, you're climbing and you're lifting people with you, people from St. Lucia.
Yeah, I'm dedicated to that. I think it's important.
I love that. I think I saw that you have a new office. Is that the case?
I do.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So my first office was in Plano, Texas. Of course, it's a little bit of a commute, but I use the toll roads. I swear by the toll roads because I like driving with ease. So it was a little bit out. It was a good location, but I wanted some more office hours. The company I use is like a shared space company, a leasing company for therapists. So they were opening a brand new office, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try Addison. Addison is a really vibrant town in Texas. Lots of restaurants, Comedy Central, all the things. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to try something different. And it has been nice.
So now you've grown from 6 to probably a lot more clients. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen hundreds by now. But the nature of therapy, people come in, you deal with your issue, and then you transition, and also people terminate. So someone might lose insurance, someone might not be a good fit. These are, reasons for termination, but it has been really good. And I'm just, I just honor the process. It is going to be what it's going to be.
And I think about that because I'm in therapy myself. I've been going through quite a number of life transitions. For me, being able to start and stop therapy is actually a sign of growth. I'm better, and to know that you're there available for me when I'm ready to come back if the need arises. So,
oh yeah,
that's great. And with building, there is struggle. So I cannot talk about building without talking a little bit about the struggle that we encounter while we build. So when was the time that you almost felt like giving up?
So I don't have felt that feeling in my practice because this has just allowed me so much flexibility and freedom. And of course, because I want to do the work, and it's my it's my money too.
Right.
But I did feel that I think coming on my 3,000 hours in my psychiatry practice, there was a level of burnout because when you're working for others, there's an expectation that, you just have to see this wide number of clients. Sometimes the cases are so complicated, especially if a multiple diagnosis person. So I think there was a time when I experienced burnout and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a break. And some people do that. Some people take a break from therapy or they do other jobs that has nothing to do with this work. And for me, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go become a private investigator.
Oh, intriguing.
Yes.
I did not see that one coming. Tell me more.
I know, right? I'm just going to go do this, take a break, and then I'll just come back to it because there's a demand for this work. So like there's always going to be work. And, I reach out to some local companies and look at their trainings and look at their salary. And then I was like, what? This is nothing close to what I'm making, So, and then you have to work out of town and all of that stuff. And I was like, you know what? This is not going to work. I'm just going to maybe take one day off in the week, manage my caseload in a particular way so I can find some balance, and I start taking better care of myself because I started Pilates and all of that good stuff. And yeah, I think it came back to how am I pouring into myself? Am I taking care of me? Yeah, am I being realistic, with some of my cases? And do I need to review some treatment goals? So yeah, ultimately it came back to how can I take care of myself better to make this work? But yeah, I did almost quit for a while to become a private investigator.
Yeah, we need to talk a little bit more about that. Well, I'm glad that you were able to take that break, and I think it's a way of really affirming this is what I want to do. The fact that you took a break and came back, you sure this is what you want to do, and you made the changes you needed to make it work for you. And I like that you said basically it sounded like self-care there. Just kind of changing things like how many days you go into the office, things like that to make it a lot easier for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And would you say that it ever feels like it's a struggle though to stay afloat in terms of the actual finance part of it and just running the business? Because as the boss, you're taking on all the responsibilities, right? So in terms of staying afloat, how has that been for you?
I haven't encountered any issues with staying afloat. I'm trying to reflect on maybe a time. I don't think so. There's a lot of demand for the work that I do. If anything, is making sure that I am in a good space.
Right.
I'm very intuitive. I always look inward. And I notice there are periods of the month, of course, as a menstruating woman, there are periods of the month where I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to hear people's problems. I'm becoming more aware of when that is. I track my cycle and all of that good stuff. So if there's anything, it has less to do with the money and more to do with the energy to listen to some of these problems over and over again. So yeah, I think it's more about my energy, making sure that my energy is, full more than the money. The money's always there.
It's really nice how connected you are with yourself. So you can actually bring your best self forward,
Yeah.
Because if you're in a good space,
I can do good work.
Exactly. And you create an even better space for the person coming to see you. Oh, I love that. So we are now going to move on to the blossom segment. And I don't know why I just love to say blossom. So I would love to know, what does success mean to you?
I've been reflecting on that a lot, and I feel like I'm living in it, self-actualization. I think getting to a space where you can live through all the things and come to a place where you can start a business and use that business to sustain and create a lifestyle for yourself, your family. I feel like that is success. And I've been wondering, like, do I need anything else?
Wow, that's a good place to be.
It is. But I think when we watch, other people's journeys, the idea of doubt can sip in, like, I need to be doing more. I need to have this and that. And I'm like, I have the things, I mean, we have a home, a lovely home. We have the kids are doing great. Our family is well. Health wise, we're doing great. Maybe that is success. And I think maybe that's a question a lot of people struggle with because maybe we don't always recognize it. So I think I'm living in it. think this is success.
Great. And I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. I like that you acknowledge that because sometimes we don't realize that we're living that dream that we've actually been, dreaming all of our lives. So to actually come to that point where you recognize that you're enjoying it, that's great. And I think to me that sounds like success.
It sounds like success to me, but there's a part of us that always want more, right? So I'm developing a few things. I have my little project that I'm working on for the little ladies. I'm still refining that.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think the next step will be a nonprofit to cover that part because I'm passionate about this thing that I'm working on. And I want to have a really good impact and a good
Mm-hmm.
reach. So that would be the next step for me, a nonprofit, and to be able to connect with people in that way. Because I think there's a part of me that even coming into therapy, I couldn't imagine myself charging people to do that. So that was another leap too, because that was a mental shift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, like I always thought I would be just doing this for free and just accepting what I get, but getting to a place where you can make good money doing this
Mm-hmm.
and you can create the life you want doing this. And that has been good. But there's also this, this side of me that wants to have greater impact
Mm-hmm.
without thinking so much about profit.
It's nice that you're thinking of that because yes, there's the people who can afford it, but you can also do that, provide services some way, non-profit, but that's I guess a way of giving back. So it's really great that you're thinking about that. What would you say is your biggest motivator, or who is your biggest motivator?
I mean, I always want to be better. I always want to be better. So there is that inside of me, that urge to just be a better person and show up differently.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, showing up for my kids, that at the core would be a really good motivator. But I think being my best self,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately that, because when I am my best self, I'm a best self for them and my husband and the people around my family,
For
right?
sure.
So I think just wanting to maintain and sustain what I have built. So yeah, I think my family and also just having that innate feeling of just wanting to be my best self always.
Great, awesome. And you mentioned family. How do you balance family and having your practice? And I know you do a lot of other things. So I know you're very busy. So how do you manage all of that?
Once again, with my private practice, I can work the hours that I want to work. So I'm big on scheduling and planning. So everything goes on the calendar.
Hmm.
And because everything is on the calendar, I can schedule accordingly because I block the times that I need for family, which has been beautiful. I was just thinking this morning, actually, my son's games, I haven't missed any of his games except for, because I was in St. Lucia last year for a couple of days for my mom's birthday. But outside of that, I've been really present. I go to my son's piano class with him. I'm able to attend all the games, all the theater things. So I think I have really found a way to balance things. Yeah, and once again, owning a business, it gives you that flexibility to manipulate your schedule
Yeah,
the way you need to, which I really enjoy that. And I didn't think that was something I absolutely needed until I realized that, yeah, I can do all the things.
right. And I'm listening to you say that brought me back to the whole success. Like that is amazing that you're able to attend all those events and be
Hmm.
present. That makes you very successful in my eyes.
Yeah, because moms, we're expected to live our lives as if we don't have a family, but we actually do. And these moments matter. And it's such a short window
I
and
know.
we can miss it.
Yeah, I value that so much. And it's really one of the reasons I started my own business as well. Being a mom, it really changes the perspective on everything. And you just want to be there for them, with them. You want them to remember you, build those memories. Yeah, I love that. Totally get that. So now we're moving on to closing up of our episode. And I would like you to focus on two or three actionable tips that you would give somebody who's looking to start their own practice. Like two to three things they can actually do today.
I would say the first one is values. Sitting with your values. What are the things that are absolutely important to you? Two, impact. What is the impact that you want to have on whatever niche, demographic, whatever that might look like for you. And then three, I would say dream. And I would even sidebar that with envisioning, right? Whether that's using an actual vision board or just daydreaming in your Google Docs or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you use to to plan things out. These are the three things I would say.
So when it comes to dreaming, I know you said vision board. So would you say you pulled out a board and like put stuff on there, like based on what you want, you actually stick like I know people cut up magazine photos. Is that what that looked like for you?
That is a way to do it, but because I have such a vivid mind, I tend to just see everything in there. So what I do, I write it
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm a very process driven person, so I'm doing the step by step, and that for me really brings it to life. So I like that. So that might look different for everyone, but I swear I love vision boards too. But I think being able to see the thing that you're thinking about on paper can really help it come alive.
I love that. I actually have seen that work for me. It's almost like you're putting it out there in the universe what you want, and then it happens because you've thought through it.
Yeah, like a form of manifestation.
Exactly. I love that. And when we talk about values, what were actions you took under that thing of values so that helped to bring you where you are today?
So of course I always do like, a value, not a questionnaire, but looking at a list of values and realizing what's important to you. For some of us that might be growth. For some of us that means working with community. That might be super important. Of course, impact was one of my words, but impact, what is
Mhm.
the impact that you want to leave or have on people? But also I think for some people, because there is a sense of unknowing, not knowing yourself enough. There's so many assessments that you can take, psychology assessments that can help you maybe refine or get you closer to realizing, okay, what am I really good at? What am I most aligned for?
Mhm.
There's a couple. There's the Myers Briggs. There's a bunch of tests that you can take that can help you come to that. And I think also being able to do that too can show you where you're most aligned, the fields that might align with you. That's a good place to start. And also just interviewing the people around you. What do you think I'm really good at? Or how have I impacted you?
I like that.
That could also be a good place to start as well.
I really like that because that brings to mind for me self discovery. And I think that the person you bring into a business, like it's really important to really go deep and find out who are you, what can you really give to others, what is it that you love, what is it that they say when you never work a day in your life, asking yourself all those questions and doing those assessments, it really helps you hone in on what you love and what you'd like to be doing for the rest of your life.
I think so too. Yeah. And of course that journey might look different for every business owner, but I do want to encourage that level of self discovery in the beginning. And of course, for some people, they're just being called to do something and following that. I think a lot of times we pray for signs and alignment, and
Hmm.
you also have to be ready for it.
Yes, for sure. I agree. So part of this podcast is actually creating community. So one of the things we'd like to do is to connect people. So somebody who's listening to you right now, connect with you to maybe just to have a one-on-one or just basically actually you did that for me.
Yeah.
You had something going on where you invited other women who would like to start a podcast to actually reach out to you, and I answered that call. I was able to ask you questions about what it was like to start, just questions you want to ask, or just to talk to somebody who's done it before.
Yeah.
So we would like
Hmm.
to also do that for somebody else. So we would like if you could maybe offer up 30 minutes to 1 hour of your time for someone to do that.
Yeah, for sure. 30 minutes for sure on my schedule. That sounds like a good place. So yeah, I would love to do that. And I think that is still open. I still have that open, if anyone wants to talk with me about that. Because I do realize for some of us, and even maybe for you, this probably has been something you've been sitting on. And once again, timing, alignment, that post came up. And I think I was just sharing number of downloads, I think that day. And I was like, yeah, I want to talk with other people. And even if I'm not active right now, of course, the podcast is live. It's still hitting its numbers, but it's important to help other people because we all have different stories and different things to share. And I think podcasting is a great avenue. You just never know who you're talking to. You could be talking to someone in South Africa, in India, somewhere. And it doesn't have to be the people around you. You know, the people who want to listen will listen.
Right. Yeah. So, I guess what we will do is probably you will be sharing. We'll ask you to share your information, and
Hmm.
probably the first person who contacts you and says they heard of you through us
Yeah.
can probably get that 30 minutes with you. So
Yeah.
please go ahead and tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so of course, my Instagram is still live. So her sexual space podcast is on Instagram. I do have the website, her sexual space, which I do have a contact form if you want to reach out. And also you can email me at hello@hersexualspace.com. I'm on my email, so I'll get it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that probably I didn't ask you you'd just like to tell persons who are listening to you before we close out completely?
I think we covered everything. Of course, these two books that I recommended, these are books that I've read, and I strongly believe in the impact that it can have on our mindset. You know, The Secret Thoughts of Women really tap into our imposter syndrome, which stops a lot of us from taking those big steps in our lives, and even maybe downplaying our gifts. So I love that book for women. And also The
Hmm.
Psychology of Money, that just goes hand in hand. It helps us rethink of the way we think about money and success in those terms. So I think those are some really good recommendations.
Okay, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. And I think we've learned so much about you, and I look forward to having you on again.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on taking the sleep.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to this episode of Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a CME Accounting LLC podcast. Please subscribe and be on the lookout for our next episode. If you'd like to share any feedback with us, please email us at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com.